So for me, I was like, I just can't let her get abused like this every day. So I
Yeah.
told him what was going on. I was
Mhm.
like, I know you didn't know this, but like she's getting verbally abused by, this. And then, he was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. The next day, I called her just to,
Mhm.
like talk and say what's up. And she's like, hey, um, did you tell our boss about like what's been going on with me at work,
Mhm.
And she was like, I can't tell you exactly, but like, I don't think that he wants us to see each other. And I was like,
Oh,
he's our boss. Like, he doesn't get to fucking decide that. You know what I
like
mean?
it's your personal
Yeah, this is
life.
our personal life. He can't decide like whether we can be together or not.
Yeah.
But from that moment, I felt like something was off. I couldn't name what it was, but I was like, you're being a little bit vague. I don't know what's going on
It's your
here. Okay.
intuition.
But my
Mhm.
intuition was like, something's not right here. Our relationship continues to progress. And it's getting to the point where like I'm inviting her over,
Mhm.
we're cuddling together, listening to music, watching stuff, and then each night she would say, I have to go. And for me, I was like, why just sleep over?
Mhm.
Like we're going to the same office tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the academies are within walking distance of each other. Like we can just go together, like just stay over. She's like, no, I really want to, but I can't.
Mhm.
So I was like, do you have to like house sit for someone? Or are you like, watching someone's dog or something? She's
Yeah.
like, no, it's not that. I was like, did you leave something at home? Like, and she's like, no, it's not that. I'm not going home. So I was like, I,
Wait, she's not going home?
she's like, I'm not going home. I was like, where do you? She's like, I'm sorry, I just can't. I have to go.
Mhm.
So she would leave, and then there was this one night where she called me and she was like, we need to talk.
Oh God, I hate those type of calls.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So she comes over to my place and she says, I can't see you anymore.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay, you know, say a little more, right?
Yeah,
Like,
like why?
help me understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And she said, um, as you know, I didn't graduate from a 4 university here in Korea, which
Mhm.
is a really big deal. And so I don't have a lot going for me in terms of getting a job.
Mhm.
She was like, before I came to this academy, as you know, I was working as um, like an hourly rate employee at a cafe,
Mhm.
So like this is a pretty big deal for me in terms of my career. And our boss, he offered me a chance to really like grow my skills.
Mhm.
He wants to like invest in my professional development. But for reasons I can't say, like that means I can't see you anymore.
Mhm.
And so for me, I was like, well, I can't stand in front of your career,
Mhm.
right?
Of course.
Because I wouldn't want someone to do that for me. So like, if this is your decision, I'm really sad about it.
Mhm.
But okay, like this is how it's gonna be.
Mhm.
And I walked her out of my place. We hugged for the last time, and I mean, I was devastated because
Of
I really
course.
cared about her.
Mhm.
And so the next day, I called up my friend. I was like, hey, like, let's hang out because I'm feeling down and I'm
Mhm.
sad and this and that. And so my friend, she came over. She's been like a longtime friend of mine,
Mhm.
even from back when I was living in Irsan. And so we just got to share our like mutual, like heartbreak kind of stuff with each other because she was
Yeah.
going through something as well at the
Yeah.
time. And then after we ate dinner, I walked her to the station, and then I'm walking back to my place, and then I saw that I had a missed call.
Mhm.
So I look at it, and it's the girl from work that had
The
just
ex?
my ex, the girl who had
Yeah.
just broken up with me the night
Yeah.
before. And so I called her back. I was like, "Hey, is everything okay?" And
Mhm.
she was like, "Oh, well, I've just been drinking a little bit,
Mhm.
but I just called because I miss you."
Mhm.
And I was like, "I thought you told me we're not doing this
Yeah, we
anymore."
can't see each
Yeah, and
other.
she was like, "Yeah, I know, I'm sorry, but I just really wanted to hear your voice."
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, "Well, okay, like I gotta go."
Mhm.
So I hung up the phone. I go home and I'm thinking about it. I was like, I do not like this.
Mhm.
This is not what I am down for in a relationship, right?
Right, right.
So I had written her this very long text.
A newspaper.
Yep, I had
Yeah.
written her this, the newspaper report,
Yeah.
and basically it said, you can't have it both ways, right? Like, if you want to be with me, I want you to be with me boldly. I don't want none of this shady shit happening here. But what you can't do is you can't tell me that you don't want to see me anymore and then call me and say that you miss
I
me.
miss you when you're drunk.
Yeah, when you're drunk. I mean, sober too. Don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
I just like you need to make up your mind, okay?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
grow up, make up your mind, and then let me know, okay? So she reads the message, and then about an hour later, she calls me, and she was like, "Can I come see you today?"
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I was like, okay, she's read what I said. So the fact that she's asking to come and see me, I'm going to assume the best about her. I'm
Right,
going to give her the
right.
benefit of the doubt. So I said, okay, you can come see me. She's like, okay, I think I'm going to get there around 9. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, yeah, it's 9. She's not here. And there's no call. There's no text. Okay. 9:30,
Nothing.
nothing. And, the anxiety, just starting to feel that, because that's the worst kind of anxiety, right? Where you have no idea what's going on.
Oh, like no communication.
No communication.
At all.
10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, still nothing. 10:05, I get a call from her. She's like, "I am so sorry. I'm late. I had to meet someone before I could come see you, but I'm on my way to see you now. I'll be there in 20 minutes." Okay. So she shows up, and what she says is, "I've decided that I would rather just be with you." She was like,
It's an odd sentence, but okay.
yeah, she was like, I don't need that career opportunity that, my boss was talking about. Like, if it comes at the cost of being with you, like, I don't want it. Like, I want to be with you. And for me, I was like, okay, well, this is a lot, right? This is a lot happening in the span of
That
2
is a
days.
lot.
Like, I need to know, like, that you're serious about this. And she's
Yeah.
like, no, I mean it. And so, and I could tell something about her. The energy was different too. Like, I could really feel that she meant this. So I was like, okay. I was like, all right. So from that moment, we were like back together again, right? And again, I thought, okay, things are looking up. Things are going to be better now.
Everything is going up again. And then what happens?
And then a couple days later, again, this is like after work,
Yeah.
we're coming back to my house. So she's just had a long day of work at the other academy where she's not working. And I've had my own day. We're coming back together. I'm expecting to have a great time. So, I'm like, what should we order? Like this stuff. And then again, her energy's just off. She's just sitting there and she's not really responding. She's not really that enthusiastic. So I was like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, it's nothing. I can't, And one thing I had forgotten to mention a little bit earlier is that when she did say she wanted to be with me again, she said to me, there's something personal that's going on in my life right now that I am dealing with. I am going to get it done. I'm going to deal with this thing. And then when it's done, I can tell you. But as of now, I'm just going to ask that you respect the privacy of my life and just trust me on this. So for me, I was like, okay, right? But then I see this energy coming from her. And so I'm asking her, is everything okay? And then I said, is it related to that thing?
Yeah.
And she was like, yes. And then I was like, okay, well, all right, here's the thing. I agreed to respect your privacy, but it's getting to the point now where this is interfering with our relationship.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's respectful to me.
Yeah.
So I think you should just tell me what's going on. And she was like, I don't know if I can do that. And for me, I was like, well, I think if this is going to work, you have to. So she's sitting there. She's quiet for a while. And then she says, I've been having an affair with our boss for the past month.
Wait. Wait, the man who's married with kids? That one or the manager?
The man who's married with kids. They're both married with kids, but the boss who's married with kids. So my boss at the time, I think he was 46.
And she's 22.
She's 22. At the time he had 2 sons. One, the older son was in 4th grade. The younger son was in 2nd grade. Yeah.
Okay. And also she's cheating on you.
Yeah.
During the whole time in your relationship, basically.
Yep. The entire time. So I found that out that night because she said, I've been having an affair with our boss. And for me, I'm just blindsided, right? So for me at that point, it's the whole like, like nothing she's saying is registering at this point.
Because it's replaying in your head just like, what?
Exactly. It's just a shock. I was like, wait, what? And she confessed to me. She was like, so he had met me when I was working at the cafe. And the day that I was quitting that job, he invited me to come work for him here at this academy. And I remember at the time I thought, oh, like it's very nice of him to give me this job without even looking at my, background,
CV
my
or
resume.
whatever, yeah.
And then she said, starting from the very first day I was working here, it started with texts. He would just text me every night, like how was training, how was work. And then after a while, he started to offer to drive me home after work. And she was like, that's why I couldn't, walk with you to the station anymore, starting from those moments, because, and then suddenly all these things started making sense.
It starts
The
clicking.
little things that I noticed but didn't question, suddenly I started remembering all those things.
Yeah.
And then she said, then one night we went to like a hueshik. A hueshik is like a company dinner, but it was only for the Korean staff members.
Yeah.
And she was like, that night he drove me home and then he kissed me.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I was like, okay. And then she said, that was a little bit before the night that you told him about our relationship and about what was happening to me at work. That night, he drove to my house drunk. He called me and he said, I don't want you to see Dan anymore. And for me, I remember that next day when I called her and she was like, I don't think he wants us to see each other anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's ridiculous. There's no way, first of all, there's no way you could know that. And secondly, he can't. And then I was like, now it makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I asked her, I said, because the reason why she was being weird this night, she's confessing all this to me, is that I told her to stay over and she said she had to go again.
Mm-hmm. Which she had been doing before.
Which she had already been doing.
Yeah.
So I said to her, did you guys sleep together? And she was like, yes. That's why I haven't been able to stay at your place, because that night you told him about our relationship. He told me, I don't want you to see Dan anymore.
Oh my God.
I don't want you staying in his place anymore. I'm going to get you a hotel room and I want you to stay in there from now on. So that's where we can meet. And that's why I've had to go there every night. And that's where I have to go now.
What the? What?
Yeah. So,
Oh, this needs to be in a book, by the way.
oh, I plan on it. I plan on it.
What the? What?
So, that night, I sent her home because she insisted that she had to go. And of course, at that point, my mind is reeling from everything.
Right.
And there were a couple of people that I was like, I need to call and I need to talk to. And these are the people that they're my SOS. I don't talk to these people unless it's like life or death emergency in my life, right? Because we don't have the greatest relationship, but they're the people in my life that I know, like when I'm in a pinch, I need to know what their perspective is.
They'll be there for you.
So one of those people was my dad. I called him, I told him what's going on. And my dad is not the most empathetic person. He was just like, you need to get out of that relationship now. You need to cut that girl out of your life because it is a dangerous situation that you're in right now. And I had never heard my dad talk to me like this before. He was like, you told me that your boss has money. In Korea, if you have money, you can get away with anything.
You can get away with a lot here.
So he was like, you are in danger.
Yeah.
You need to get out of that relationship now.
Yeah.
And for me at the time, I was like, I kind of don't want to because I still have feels for her, but also like I can't just like leave her in this by herself. Yeah, so see that's what I would say.
Captain Save Us.
Oh my goodness, that's literally
She is a grown
I had that
woman.
like that tattooed to my chest at my heart at the time. So
Oh no.
I hung up with him, and then I also called my uncle, and he's someone who had been helping me with so many different things from the day I got here in Korea. He's not blood related uncle. He's like a family friend who did even more for me than like my blood related family did. I told him the situation as well, and for him, he was a lot more understanding. He was like, well, I only really see one practical way that this can work, which is that she needs to cut all ties with your boss because that's the only, like, if she wants out of this, that's the only way. And she did say to me that night. So that night when she confessed to me, she said, the day that I said I was going to meet you at 9 and I came an hour late is because I had confronted our boss before coming to meet you because I wanted to end everything clean with him before getting back with you. And when I tried to do that, he screamed at me and he wouldn't let me leave. And it was only until that I somehow, like, I was terrified, but I painted on this smile and pretended to be okay. And that was when he would let me walk away from him. That's when I came to see you. And so she was like, the reason why I couldn't tell you is because I wanted to get out of this before coming clean, but I'm still caught in this and I feel trapped. So that's why for me, that's why it's like, yes, Captain Save-A-Ho, but I wasn't being purely stupid. Like
now she's
she
in
had
your ear.
she had
like,
straight up asked me for help. She straight up said to me like, I need help, and I,
Yeah.
So if it was like, she was like, I've been doing
yeah.
this, and I'm the victim here, like, then I would have been like, okay, you're gone, like you. But it wasn't that at all. It was like she was telling me everything, and she's saying like, I tried to get out of this before getting back with you, but it was like I couldn't. So the next day in the morning.
I'm sorry. I'm also just thinking about. She was still doing it when she was with you, though. I keep thinking about that.
Yeah, and that's why in hindsight for me, I'm like,
she's trying to make it seem like, oh, I'm trying, but no, she was still doing it before you guys had that break.
Yep.
I'm just
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next morning, I called my aunt, again, not blood related. She's someone who lives back in the States, but she had been a survivor of domestic abuse. Back when I was like a really little kid, but I have a super close relationship with her. So she's the only person I knew who was kind of in something similar to what this girl is going through.
Yeah.
So I called her, told her what was going on. And she was like, did you say she's staying at a hotel? And I was like, she's like, you need to get her out of there now. And I was like, I don't understand. And she was like, you don't need to understand. Just trust me. Like the physical space she's in, that's why she's feeling trapped. You need to get her out. So I was like, okay, you gave me something actionable I can do immediately. Done. Hang up the phone. I called my girlfriend at the time. I was like, start packing your things. She's like, what? I was like, start packing your things. I'm getting you out of there. I'm bringing a suitcase. So I just grabbed a suitcase, hailed a cab, I went to the hotel, walked up to the room, and then I just started taking all her stuff, putting it into the suitcase. And then I just grabbed her hand, suitcase, walked out of there. Put her in a cab. We got home. And then as soon as she got like into my home, she just collapsed.
Crying.
She couldn't even cry. She was in shock. She just like collapsed like on my bed, like unresponsive, right? And for me, it was in that moment I realized like she was terrified. Like she had gotten into this agreement, obviously, that yes, she was responsible for doing the things that she did, but she's a 22-year-old girl, and he's 46. The dude, he's had all this life experience. He knows all the psychological things, like, and I would later find out that this is not his first rodeo. He's cheated on his wife before,
Come on, of course he has.
So
yeah, and I think the biggest thing is he has money.
Yeah,
he can do whatever
exactly.
He wants with that
so much money,
Yeah.
and so while she's lying there unresponsive on the bed, I said to her like, "Are you okay?" And she was like, "I didn't realize how much I felt like a prisoner in there until you got me out." So I was like, "Okay, she just needs to like regain her center, whatever she needs to do, because that's some shit that I have not been a part of." But like that,
Yeah.
And long story short. To this
now
day,
we can do long story long too.
Oh, okay. Well, I feel like the long story was already long. That was.
I'm so invested. I don't know if you noticed. I grabbed my mic and sat.
You sat back, yeah.
Sitting back. Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, that was pretty much the gist of the whole story. But what happened after the fact was. Oh man. Okay, so since I've already kind of we're like 30% over, I might as well just finish the 30% instead of giving you like the 5% version, right? So my boss is still contacting her. Still trying to meet up with her, but she's just like putting it off, right? Because she's scared. Obviously she's scared to meet him. But because she knows that he's going to try to keep convincing her to stay, right? So basically what happened was he was making her an offer to be his personal secretary, which basically means sex whenever he wants.
Oh, yeah.
And then he would pay her like a very high salary for what she's doing. God. And then also pay for her to go to one of those academies in Korea where you can get some certified skill, like computer software or whatever, to help you get like another job, right? Which is a really tempting offer for her. This is
it's
a girl.
Sweet deal until the sex part comes in.
Right. I mean, at that point, you're selling your dignity, right?
You're a high-end escort.
Yeah. Yeah. And not even that high end, because the dude, the dude, I mean, yeah. Let's be real. This isn't Bill Clinton. This is a hagwon 원장님. Okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
you're like the shade.
I haven't like thought about this in a long time, so it's just like coming back to me.
Yeah.
So basically, she told me that she's like, okay, I'm gonna meet with him, and I am going to end everything. Okay. And what I said to her was, I was like, don't meet with him. There is nothing good that comes with you having a face-to-face meeting. If you need to have a phone conversation with him, to do it over the phone, but like just cut it
Not
off,
this face
right?
to face, yeah.
And she's like, no, like I need to do this. I need to do this. So she goes in to have a meeting with him, and she comes back to me and she says, okay, so he's like changed his offer. He apologized to me about getting in the way of like my personal life, and he told me that, you know, he would still want me to have me as a personal secretary, but we're not gonna have any personal relationship, and he's gonna like support like us being together.
Oh God.
And so for me, what I said to her was, I was like, okay, like this is where I have to draw the line, because this is absolute bullshit, and the fact that you're still falling for it
She's
is what
eating it up.
is what drives me fucking nuts. What I said to her was, I was like, okay, I'm gonna tell you a story because I feel like this is the only way that I'm gonna get this to stick.
Yeah.
When I was 5 years old, my dad took me on a trip, and well, it was a family trip, but then he took me like on a walk away from my mom and my sister. We went out to a nearby lake, and he saw this 12-year-old boy fishing. And I told her, I remember he was doing something really weird. This 12-year-old boy had caught a fish, and he would reel it in, right? And so, you know, the hook caught in the fish's mouth, he'd reel it in, the fish is out of the water, wriggling around, right? And the fish would, and the boy, he would just look at the fish, wriggling, struggling on the thing, and then he would let it back into the water with the hook still in his mouth. And then you see the line go, right? Because the fish is just zooming away, thinking that it's free. And then the boy would just smile and then reel the fish back in. Do the same thing, pull it up out of the water again and again and again, right?
Yeah.
So my dad, he's looking at this 12-year-old boy and thinking like, psychopath, right?
Complete.
That boy's a fucking psychopath.
Yeah.
But I remember that just really stuck to me. And I remember my dad, he looked at me and he said, there's a lesson to be learned here. He was like, that fish thinks it's free every time it hits the water.
Oh God, yeah.
What it doesn't understand is anything short of getting the hook out of its mouth, that fish will never be free again.
Never.
And what I told her was, I said, you're the fish. And he's got his hook in your mouth. And until you're willing to cut all ties with him, he can tell you whatever he wants to, but he'll reel you in the moment it's convenient for him again. And so what I said to her was, if you want to have this deal, you can have it. I just can't be part of it.
Oh, you gotta be out of it.
You know, like you can have this deal, but you can't have me. That's how this works. And she was like, why? I don't understand.
Oh God.
So for me, I was like, oh my fucking God, right? So she was like, okay, you know what? No, you're right. I'm going to make this decision. I'm going to cut all ties with him, okay? So she goes to one more meeting with him, and I'm super anxious at that point. I'm teaching my classes, and the entire time I cannot focus because I know she's in the office with him. I don't know what's going on.
Face to face again.
Face to face.
Okay, yeah.
And then after it's over, she was supposed to be waiting for me at my place after work so we could talk about it. But after work, I called her, and she told me that she had told her dad everything that was going on, and he came to pick her up, and then she went home. And she was like, also, I can't see you anymore.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that was the end of our relationship. And I thought that would be the end of that particular ordeal.
Yeah.
Until the very next day, my boss called me and was like, I need to see you in a meeting right now. And I was like, usually we schedule these things in advance. Like, I don't know if I can, how soon I get there. He's like, no, we're going to have a lunch meeting right now. So come here by this time. So I got ready. I go to work. He's like, let me take you out to eat. So he takes me to this really nice restaurant nearby. I mean, we're talking about like Hanu beef and like quality sushi, like all this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So he lays that all in front of me. And the gist of what he says is basically, I'm threatening to fire you because the girl quit yesterday out of the blue. And her crazy bitch senior, who obviously didn't know about her affair, right?
Yeah.
Her crazy bitch senior is accusing you of sexual harassment. She's saying that you must have sexually harassed her to get her to want to leave so suddenly. And they are coming at me so strong with this accusation that the only way that I can appease my head administrator is by firing you. So I sat there and I took a big bite of the Hanu beef.
That expensive
Hanu beef. It was delicious. And then I took another bite of the fish, and then another bite, and another bite. I chewed, I swallowed, and then I said, "You can fire me if you want, but I didn't do shit."
Literally.
And I said, "And I think, because you are a wise man, I think that you know the real reason why she left." And that was the closest I ever got to hinting that I knew something about him and her, because I wanted to make sure that he did not know that I knew about them.
Pause. He didn't know that.
No, he didn't.
So she never mentioned that you.
She never mentioned me to him, that she told me about them.
Okay, I actually commend her for
I commend her for that
yeah,
too. She
keeping
protected
that
me on that one. She protected me on that one. Yeah.
Because in my head I was thinking, how are you still going back to work?
Yeah, no, she didn't tell him.
Why I commend her for that.
Yeah.
Because you would have lost your job immediately, I feel like.
Oh, well, that part's coming.
Oh, okay.
So, basically he says that he's threatening to fire me. I told him I didn't do shit. And I stood my ground, because I basically said to him, like, I know I didn't do anything wrong. So you can fire me. That's on you. But like, I'm not, I know what you're doing here. Taking me out to this really nice gourmet meal. You're trying to see if I feel too guilty to eat any of this stuff because I'm nervous. I was like, I'm gonna fucking enjoy this Hanu beef. Like, God knows I can't afford this shit by myself. Like, you want to spend money, trying to intimidate me? Fucking spend more. I will eat everything on the fucking table, right?
He's probably like, how is he eating right now?
Yeah, exactly. So after the meeting, and again with the manipulation, this guy, like, before he brought this up, he was sharing with me that he used to have a gambling problem.
Oh, God.
And then he shared with me that he had an affair with his wife before. And I already knew this. Mind you, because my ex-girlfriend, who had just broken up with me, had already told me that he had an affair before, because he told her the same thing, right? And like, at this point, I had no respect for the guy, because again, I forgot to mention this detail. The night that she tried to end things with him and he screamed at her, before screaming at her, he told her that he was going to divorce his wife, leave his children, and run away with her, and wanted to marry her.
That is so manipulative.
So fucking manipulative, right? And so for me, like, because I was so confident in my answer, he was like, porn. He couldn't fire me for the next 2 months. For 2 months, he couldn't fire me. And for me, I thought the matter was settled. I was like, okay, I guess he's decided to keep me around.
Yeah.
Because I didn't hear anything from him for the next 2 months. Then out of the blue, one day he walks into my office, my classroom, and then he says, "You will be working here until the end of the month, and then I have to let you go." So I did lose my job. Yeah.
And did he give you a reason?
He did. This is what he said. He said, "I took a long time to think about it, and Dan, I really didn't want to let you go. But it got to the point where I would be sitting at the dinner table wrestling with this, and then my wife said to me, you know what? If it's causing you to start having issues in your personal life, then you need to just deal with this." And for me, when he brought that, I was like, oh my God, did you also tell your wife that this is the second time you fucked another woman?
To say that. I was like, when it's worrying you at the dinner table, did you tell your wife you were cheating on her? Like, what type of dumb reasoning is that?
Oh, and so at that point, I was like, you know what? It's been exhausting for me to work here, having to look over my shoulder every day. I mean, it was to the point where I would see him and I would have a gag reflex because of just how fake he was being, right? Just putting on this persona of like, I'm the family man. I care about my wife and my kids, and I know all the shit that you've been doing. It made me sick to my stomach. And so for me, by the time he told me he was letting me go, honestly, I was like, oh my God, you know what? Thank you. Because honestly, I needed to go. So the fact that you're letting me, thank you, And he made it sound like he was doing me some favor, because he was like, I have to report to the immigration office of why I am letting you go, but I'm not going to include any of the accusations of your sexual harassment of this person in those things. So like, and I was like, bitch, I already told you I didn't fucking do any of that shit. So don't act like you're doing me any favors out here. Like, the reason why she left. Like, so don't play that card with me.
Yeah.
And that was a turning point again in my life, because what that lesson taught me was, in my professional life, I am never again working for someone else. Wow. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to be an employee again, because I did. I ended up working at an even better hagwon in Taechidong for the next 2 years after that, and had an incredibly redeeming experience with my next boss. Jay, if you're watching this, not not
Not
our
our
Jay.
Jay.
Jay, my previous boss. If you're
Yeah.
watching this, you know who you are.
Yeah, come on the podcast,
Uh,
Jay.
So
Just
yeah, my
kidding.
boss after that for
Yeah.
the next 2 years, she redeemed all the shit that I
Yeah.
had been through
Yeah.
before with the other two bosses.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got fired from that place, and for me, I was like, I have to work for myself from now on. Even if I have a boss, when I show up to work, I'm not doing it to make somebody else richer. I'm not doing it for their reputation. I'm doing it for me,
Yeah.
so that I can be the best teacher or the best whatever that I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And it also changed the way that I interact with women in relationships, which I'm very proud of myself for, right? 'Cause
Oh, tell us
no,
more.
no more, no more Captain Save-A-Ho.
Oh my God.
Captain
please
Save-A-Ho has left the building, right?
Never be a Captain Save-A-Ho.
No, never.
Like, I think people think it looks really cool in their head, but it does not.
No, it doesn't.
Because when you're telling the story, I'm just like, huh? Like, what?
Yeah, I will say this. I
Yeah.
will say this. I was also very tempted to just beat myself up after that of being like, you stupid fucking Captain Save-A-Ho, right? You ain't captain of shit, right? And you didn't save no hoes,
Yeah.
right? But I remember that was like,
Yeah.
that was the darkest time of my life.
Oh,
you know,
bet.
it eclipsed the thing that I had been going on before that,
The
right?
military and then
Yeah, the military and then all
fucked up
that,
boss,
yeah. So in all my 5 years of living in Korea and all the shit that I've been through, there was never once a moment where I thought like, I wish I hadn't come here. But that was the one moment where I didn't regret coming here, but I did think like, I need to leave Korea for a bit. Like I need a break.
Oh.
So I flew back home to the States for like 2 weeks to be with my family. And that is where I told my mom and my sister that, you know, everything that happened. And here's the thing you should know about my mom, in addition to the fact that she doesn't speak English, is that my mom is a very no mercy, no empathy kind of person. That's how she was like all my life.
Yeah.
And so I was expecting my mom to give me the same response that she always did, which is like, you should have known better, right? Why would you, you know, put yourself in a situation like that? And you should have seen the danger and this, that, and the third. But when I told my mom and my sister that, my mom said to me, I'm very proud of you, Daniel. And I was like, well, that's a pleasant surprise.
Right.
I mean, I don't know why you're saying. And what she
Yeah.
said to me was, she was like, if I were in your shoes, there's no way I would have helped that girl. You know?
I wouldn't either.
She was like, when the moment that she told me what she was doing and asking for help, I wouldn't have ever talked to her again. But she's like, but you didn't have to.
You had empathy.
You didn't have to help her,
Yeah.
but you stuck your neck out for her, and at the risk of like losing your job. And
Literally, yeah.
and she was like, that was very brave, Daniel. You know. And I like rarely cry in front of my mom, but I at that moment I lost it. It was like all the shit that I had just been holding on to, trying to be strong for myself and for every. I just
came
the
out.
tears just rolling down my face.
Yeah.
Because you know, again, like the whole time I kept thinking about how badly everything had been fucked up. Here my mom was saying that like, actually, here's this other perspective that you showed courage in a situation where most people wouldn't have. So yeah, that was, I would say, like the part of my story where if my life were like a movie or a Korean drama, which a lot of parallels, right?
It is a Korean drama.
Also, one of my long-term goals is I would love to actually write a drama that's based on my life.
Your life, yeah.
Obviously, we would have to embellish some things, dramatize other things to make it like drama worthy.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be a pretty cool story.
Because it's a crazy story.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff.
That
A lot of
is
good stuff in here.
Crazy story. But it also has me thinking that your mom is completely right, because if you never took that girl out of that hotel, like where would she be now?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. My mom and sister said the same thing.
Like where would she be? Because I would have not taken that out of the hotel, because it's like, what? But for you to take her out and then for her to tell her dad and then, you know, be able to get out of that situation, it started with you being the one to take her out of that hotel. So I'm just like, yeah, that's really brave.
I think that I was able to recognize that after the fact as well, after I came back to Korea.
Yeah.
And I was thankfully I was able to get in contact with her again after
really?
that experience. And from what I heard, she had gotten a different job at another place, doing something that like she really was happy about.
Yeah.
And when I met up with her in person, she seemed to be in a much better place. You know,
That's good.
I could
Yeah.
sense that there was like this. I mean, definitely she had lost some of that like innocence that she had
She was
before.
only 22.
Only 22,
Yeah.
but in exchange for that innocence, I could tell that she had developed some of this like inner steel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, you know what? Like, you're not who you were. I'm not who I was.
Mhm.
But I'm happy to see that you're better. You know.
Yeah.
And so that's how that ended.
You
Yeah.
never got in a relationship again with her?
No,
No
no.
friendship?
No, nothing. Yeah.
Uh.
That point, I think, it was just better for the both of us not to entertain that thought again.
Especially after going through all that
Yeah,
together.
yeah. I think it was like those kind of things. It's just better to leave behind and let's just move forward with our lives. You know. Yeah.
And you know, like when you were talking about that situation, I'm in a very similar situation. Like in Korea, especially because I'm a model, you meet a lot of people with the money who think you'll do anything for money. And then they try you. And I'm happy it never happened when I was younger. It's happening now when I'm older because I'm able to control the situation a lot better. But I can see myself as a 22-year-old how I would be able to be sucked into that situation. And I think as a 22-year-old, she probably didn't know how to say no because she's thinking, what about my future? How am I going to eat if I don't take this opportunity, right? But right now, as the age I am right now, I'm just like, bro, I don't need your money. I'm good, you know? But as a 22-year-old, oh my God, I was so broke. I was so broke. I mean, I still wouldn't like sleep around for money or anything like that. But I can see how she got sucked. I'm thankful all these weirdos are coming up to me now because, bro.
That's a very interesting thing to say. I'm thankful these weirdos are coming up to me now.
Yeah, I'm happy they didn't come up to me when I was 22.
I mean, I'm just making fun of you. I know you're saying that like now as opposed to before. I was like,
I mean, I don't want them to come at all.
yeah, wouldn't that be better? Wouldn't that be the best option? But I mean, you know, I don't know. Maybe 28 is the year for weirdos to approach. So I mean, who am I? You know.
I wish they never came at all, but it's just happening now, and like. It's such a scary experience when you're in it. Because my situation is it was not that, it didn't develop to that point. Maybe it's going to be a story that I'll tell later on my podcast someday. But it was,
really cool.
Right? But it was being stuck in a car with somebody who's making advances at you, but you're in their car.
Ooh.
And you're just like, how the fuck do I get away from this guy? I'm like, thank God it never got to like him touching me or anything. But he's like talking about things. And I'm just like, you're in your 60s.
Ooh.
Bro, you're old enough. You're older than my dad, right?
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there like, how do I get out of this situation without hurting my career? Because this guy is really, really big in where I'm trying to go, right?
Yeah.
So I feel for her, but I also feel for you. But I also see myself in your situation and I'm like, I wouldn't have helped her. But then I see myself in her situation, like, I wish somebody helped me. You know, because I was alone in the car, so.
You are a very empathetic person. The fact that you can.
I'm seeing all sides.
Yeah,
right
see
now.
all sides. You know, you're like Frank Ocean out here, like the see both sides, like Chanel.
Funny.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think you have an incredible level of self-awareness. The fact that you can look at, you know, yourself and say, you know what, if I were 22 and in her shoes, like I might have been sucked into that. Because honestly, for me, even as a man, you know, I look at that situation and I think, yeah, you know what, if I were her age. And if there was a powerful woman that was potentially responsible for my future career, who made those advances on me, I mean, I don't know that I would have wanted that, but I don't know how I would have said no, right?
The saying no part is the hardest part.
Hard. It's hard. And so for me, I just think I have no resentment or bitterness towards her, you know? I'm extremely grateful to have met her and to have gone through all of that with her. Not because it was fun by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm thankful that I was able to go through that because it shaped me into the person that I'm proud to be now, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess I'm just one of those dumbasses that just has to go through hard shit to learn lessons, you know?
Bro.
So for me, I'm just like, if the lesson was learned, then hey, like,
It is what it is.
This too was a gift.
Yeah.
This too was a gift.
It literally is what it is. Because I also have gone through difficulties that I'm like, at the moment it's really, really hard. But then you evolve as a person. You're like, if I didn't have that difficulty, would I have evolved into the person I am right now? You know? And maybe the difficulties do help us become the people. No, they definitely do. They help us become the people we are right now, I would say. But yeah, I appreciate the difficulties I went through now. Not during the time I was going through them, because I was like, I hate this. and I'm crying about it. But now I'm just like, it happened.
Mhm.
Like, what can you do about it? It's part of your
Exactly.
past now.
Yeah.
And hopefully your future, gets better. It just doesn't go.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
I think that is the ultimate principle of life.
Yeah.
So what you said, it just reminded me of a student that I taught 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
She was one of those very thinking ahead of her age type of girls,
Mhm.
very philosophical, very avid reader.
Yeah.
And I remember I had this Discord chat with my students. And she would love to send me all of these things about the MBTI and psychology and the Enneagram because she was into that and she knew that I was into that too. And I remember one day she messaged me out of the blue. It was like after she came back from school and she was like, Mr. Dan, why does life have to be so hard? And I responded and I was like, you're a fifth grader.
I'm like, girl, what?
I was like, what do you mean? Why does life have to be so hard? You're in fifth grade.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't say that to her. So
You're a teacher. You can't.
yeah, I'm a teacher. I can't say that. You know, I mean, some personalities I think would say it. Like I think if Jay or Sean had gotten that text, they'd be like, you're a fifth grader. Like
you're a child.
yeah,
What do you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They'd be like, get over it. But for me, that's not my style. You know,
Yeah.
for me, I find that empathy tends to be a much effective tool when getting people to own their own circumstances.
Yeah.
So what I said to her was, I'm going to be honest with you. It doesn't get easier. Yeah. I told her, I said, the bad news is that life doesn't get any easier, but you get better.
Mm-hmm.
You get stronger.
Oh, you get much stronger.
And that's how we go through it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So don't expect that your circumstances will make it more convenient for you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are willing to let these things teach you, then you can grow and then you get better at life, right? It's like a video game. If the levels get easier and easier, it's boring. You're not going to want to play the game anymore.
Yeah.
The whole point of playing the game is that the levels, they increase.
Mm-hmm.
The difficulty increases. The bosses get bigger. They get badder.
Yeah.
They get more powerful.
Yeah.
But you as a character, you level up each time too, right?
Yeah.
And somehow you find a way to beat that big bad boss with your new arsenal of weapons and magic and skills or whatever, right?
Yep.
Like that's how it goes.
Yeah.
You know?
It's more exciting that way too, in some way, if you think about it.
Yes.
Like
Can
that.
you imagine how boring life would be if everything just got easier and easier?
Or everything was just handed to you. All the
Yeah.
time?
And, actually, now that we're talking about it, I'm like, that sounds nice. What am I talking about? Who am I trying to play out here? Life would be great like that. What am I saying?
You would literally not have to work for anything, though. I mean, I would want to try it out, though. I want to try that life out for a bit.
Like, give it to me for like a month. We'll see how it feels.
Let me see.
We'll go from there.
Maybe I like it. Who knows? But
maybe I would too.
maybe I need some boring stuff. I need my life to be boring a little bit to
Yeah.
understand that
Yeah.
life. Apart from like those difficulties now, like where are you now, like mentally and like physically, and where are you now?
Okay, well, physically, you guys can be the judge where I'm at right now. But
Where I'm at right now.
give me the judge of where I'm at
Be
right now.
strict.
I'm just saying, but
Yeah.
in terms of that I love that question, by the way. Where am I at right now? I am at a point where I am once again finding my circumstances to be very chaotic, So
okay.
because I quit my job at the end of last year, I am freelancer, which is another way of saying unemployed, right?
Literally.
And I will take what I can get. That's what being a freelancer means.
Literally, you're
Yeah.
unemployed.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a nicer way of saying I don't have a job.
Yeah.
And it's really been testing me because I think it's giving me this chance to be like, okay, so big bad Daniel, who thinks he's grown and gotten confident in all these different ways and read all these different books and had all these different conversations with big and wise, powerful people, can you now take the things that you're so confident that you know and then turn them into action? Can you now manifest all the things that you said you were going to do in your
Yeah.
life? Because if you can't, then everything that you said until now, it was just false confidence. So
Yeah.
for me, I'm at a point where I am trying to be faithful to the tasks, to doing the right things that I need to do, and just trusting the process, trusting the journey. So that involves, I've recently started going live on TikTok for 3 hours every day.
I do live too.
You also do live?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know what? From one live streamer to another, I bid you all the best.
Thank you.
On that. Yeah,
Because it's hard.
it is hard. It is hard.
It's so hard.
So I'm starting with just this like 90-day challenge for myself, where like
okay.
every day for 90 days I'm gonna be going live.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. And then in addition to that, I am also taking in clients for personal training, where everything that I do is just body weight workout.
Yeah.
And so that's like also something I want to try, where it's like, oh, like this can be a practical way to help people, because a lot of people feel bad about their body image, and also, physical health is everything, right? If you have a positive physical health, that's going to take away 90% of the mental stuff too, right? Just like strong body is a strong mind.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, I'm also just trying my best to get out there, like on podcasts like this, by the way, which I'm so grateful that you allowed me to do this, right? To share my story and to just be able to just keep meeting people.
Your story is fascinating.
Thank you. I would hope so. I would hope it's fascinating, if nothing else.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah. It's like so messed up that it's like it's kind of like a sad part of your life, but I'm over here just so fascinated. I'm like, whoa, like that's crazy. And we got some laughs out of it, so.
Oh,
at least we
yeah.
got some laughs.
I mean, I laugh about all of it now. Like, honestly, it feels like it was a really crazy, adventurous part of my life now,
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think for me, my long-term goal, what I'm trying to work towards is, I know that as crazy and wild as my story has been, there are so many people out there who have gone through things that are way more traumatic, things that I couldn't possibly begin to imagine. And there are people who are going through things now, people who are struggling with anxiety and depression, people who are struggling with a sense of meaninglessness in their life and low self-esteem. And for me, my obsession is helping people. I will no longer be Captain Save-A-Ho, but I would like to still be someone's champion. You know what I mean? To just really believe in the best of somebody. If that just one little conversation or one little meeting can impact life in a positive way, for me, like that's what I want. And I want to do that to the greatest scale that I can do that. And I think right now I'm just in this point of thinking, what does it take to become that person and to get there? Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It seems like you're still figuring yourself out, but like
absolutely,
ugh,
absolutely, I am still
ends.
figuring myself out,
It
guys.
never ends, guys.
Oh my
It never
hair! Does this look like the hair of someone who's figured out what the? No, this is a work in progress.
Everything is a work in progress. I'll tell you that for sure. I feel like people think by like the time you hit 30, you have to have your life figured out. Nah, that doesn't. Not in this day and age, especially.
No.
By 30, you're still figuring your life out.
Let's be real. Nobody at the age of 30 in all of history had their life figured out. I mean, I look at my parents who did all their shit done, before the age of 30. I'm like, no, you did not. You did not deal with your shit, which is why you passed all that shit down onto me and my sister.
Trauma for us.
Yeah, thank you for the family inheritance. It would have been nice to get some money with that as well, but I guess you just got to take what you can get, right?
My inheritance, I'll take it. Yeah, I totally feel like that, because I think at our age group right now, like our parents were already married. They had their first child, and I'm over here like, I live with a cat. I barely know what I'm doing in my life, and I'm just like, why don't I have my shit together? And you just realize it's impossible in this day and age to have your shit together before 30. It's insanely impossible. So I stopped beating myself up about it. I'm just like,
I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that, because honestly, I don't think that there's such a thing as having your shit together in life.
what does that even look
everyone is just acting like they have their shit together. Guys, okay, let me just, I can say this super confidently.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. Nobody.
You're just trying.
Everybody's just trying their best to make sense out of the chaos that is the burden of this existence, right? But it's but that's why I think there's room for more compassion towards ourselves, towards one another.
Yeah.
Precisely because we're all connected
Literally.
in this existence, right?
Yeah.
There's nobody that has ever lived that hasn't had to deal with this same burden, right? So yeah, I think that's why there's the answer is so simple. It's the things
Yeah.
that we overlook. It's just the simple act of being present with another person in a conversation like
Just
this.
listening. Yeah.
You know, listening and sharing compassion and empathy, right? Like I think just a little of that and
Yeah, empathy goes a long way.
long
A
fucking way.
long way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It helps a lot with like not judging the person and then just trying to like understand them, I think.
What you said about like, you know, I don't think I have my shit together right now. I was talking to my mom on the phone and she was telling me about this book that she had read called, the title is, it's in Korean, but to translate it into English, the title is Having Lived to 100. So the professor is a very famous professor in Korea. He was born in 1920.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So that dude has been through he's been through like the Japanese occupation, right? Then he saw like the Cold War.
Yeah.
Then he saw the Korean War, right? Then he saw
Seen
he saw
everything.
United Korea. He saw it divide,
Separate,
you know, separate.
yeah.
Like he's been through all this shit.
Yeah.
Okay? To give you context, his children are in their 90s. Because the dude's 120. Sorry, no. I did the math wrong.
Jesus, I was like the kids.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Not in their 90s. His kids are in their 80s. His kids are in their 80s. Yeah, not the 90s. I was like, no, the dude didn't have children at the age of 14. Sorry, that was my bad. Yeah.
Like teen parents?
Korea was a different place back then. You know, they had kids really young.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah.
But yeah, no, his kids are in their 80s. So just to give the context, that's how old this dude is, right?
Jeez.
And in his book, what he said was, I don't think that. So in Korean, there's this expression, 철 들었다, which means like you became an adult. Like the steel kind of formed. You're not like this loosey goosey, got your shit all over the place, but like you've kind of formed the who you are,
yeah, the
right?
person yeah.
So in Korea, they'll use this expression like 철이 들었다 when they see some kind of act of maturity on your part, when you know, take care of your parents very well, or you kind of show respect for like an elder or something like that. They're like, oh, 철이 들었다. It just kind of means like you've matured. You see the bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
And in his book, what the guy said was, I didn't become an adult. I didn't 철들어 until I was 60.
Damn.
Yeah.
60?
60.
It's like our parents' age.
Exactly. And you know what the thing was? What my mom said to me was, I actually agree with him. She was like, now that I'm around 60, I understand why he said that now I finally become an adult. And what his reasoning was, it's not until you become 60 that you've gone through enough of the significant events in life that a person can experience, right? So by the time you're 60, that means most people in a developed country like ours, where you have access to like clean water and medical care and stuff, it means that at this point you've held either a very long career or multiple careers. It means that if you were going to get married, you've already done that. And that if you were going to have children, you've already had that. And then in some cases, you might even have grandchildren. And he said, and you've also seen one or both of your parents pass away.
Oh my God.
And so he said that kind of sort of closes the loop. It's the full cycle, right? Where you've become a parent and you've lost a parent. And he said, that's when you become an adult.
Jesus. And the way I dread that.
Yeah.
I dread that.
Are you very close with your parents?
I'm very close with my dad. I'm close with my mom, but not super close.
Okay.
But I just know when they like pass, it's gonna be really hard for me.
Yeah.
Because even the thought of it makes me want to cry. So I can only imagine when it happens. Oh my God, I'm gonna be so broken. But yeah, I pray they live very, very long and see their grandchildren and maybe their great grandchildren.
Yes, me too. That's what I very much wish.
Let's extend that life, please.
Exactly.
But yeah.
I also very much want that for my parents. But so I bring that up to basically say, we're killing it out here.
We're trying.
Can I get a little high five action?
I'm over here like I'm trying.
This expectation that you have to be mature and adult by the time that you're 30, no, like,
bro, that doesn't happen.
Listen to the professor. That he's lived to over 100. He knows what he's talking about, right? Yeah.
But I think this was like one of the most fascinating episodes I've had. I think it really kept all the viewers on the edge of their seats.
I hope so.
Then what happens? Then what happens? So I really, really appreciate you coming and being so open, and like, you're just such an open book, which I really appreciate. Excuse me, because before I'd asked you if there's anything you don't want to say, you don't have to, but you're like, no, I'm an open book. And I think it really showed in your story, because you were just giving everything.
Yeah, I meant what I said.
I really
Yeah.
want a drama to come out. If somebody's a writer out there, like, yo, like, you need to write this story.
Yeah, anybody who wants to turn my life story into a drama, you know, as long as you cast me for the lead role, I'm down.
And you give him credit for the story.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that too. That too.
We appreciate
people
credit
need to-
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was really, really nice having you on here. Any last words that you have for the audience? You can shout stuff out, by the way, like your TikTok.
Oh
your
yeah, for
YouTube.
sure.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for me on social media, my Instagram handle, my TikTok, and my YouTube are all Daniel.m.o, spelled O-H.
It'll be somewhere here.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where you can find me. And yeah, I'm also on some like those Korean Net live shows kind of things.
Mhm.
I've been doing like a live show.
Ooh, you cook too.
No, I don't, which is why it's so much fun to see me pretend
Yeah.
that I know what I'm doing when I don't.
Yeah.
But here's my question. What do you hope for
Mm-hmm.
this podcast in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years. Oh, wow. I hope it's going to be a channel where people who are coming to Korea can watch and learn about Korea and learn like real stories about people living in Korea. Because I'm tired of people coming to Korea with these expectations from just one person that they're watching. Like, oh, I watched Paris and how her life is in Korea, so it's going to be amazing for me too.
And then I got Daniel's story.
And then you kind of forget that that's one person who lives here. Hundreds and thousands and maybe not millions, thousands of foreigners live in Korea, and everybody is living a different story. So I just want this podcast to be a podcast that's highlighting people's story to the point that people look for this channel before they come to Korea. They can be like, oh my God, this may happen, this may happen, this may happen. So I hope for that. I also hope for it to be like a platform that foreigners feel safe when they tell their story, because there are a lot of stories that I've heard that are crazy. Well, yours is pretty crazy. And I'm happy that you felt like this was a safe space enough for you to be able to come here and tell your story. And I just hope it's that to other people, for them to be able to be like, oh, I can come on Korea Unfiltered and tell my story and not feel judgment from Paris or the audience or anything like that. So yeah, that's where I am.
Okay.
That's my hope.
Well, you know, I'm happy and honored to be part of the journey of you being able to do that.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
I also have one more question.
What's the question, Daniel?
Would you do me the honor of also being on my podcast?
Of course.
Okay.
Of
All right.
course.
Well, it's on camera. It's recorded now, so she can't take it back unless she edits this part out. But I'll know.
Can you imagine?
I'm like watching my podcast and I'm like,
Like, wait, she didn't put that
where
part
did
in.
it go? Yeah.
No, I would love to be a guest on your
Okay.
podcast. Yeah,
Um,
it's always nice to hop around in podcasts.
Okay. Nice.
You would be the first podcast I've been on, though.
Ooh, what
Yeah, you
an
better
honor.
appreciate it.
Oh,
Daniel.
I do for sure. By the way, I don't know if I put it somewhere here, but my podcast is called Oh Damn, but it's spelled OHDANM. I think I might have said this at the beginning of our
And
conversation
also,
as well.
of course, put it here.
But yeah, if
Yeah.
in case you decide to edit one of them out, now you have them both. You know, you have them bookmarking the podcast, so you can choose which one.
I will choose it for sure, for sure. Thank you so much, Daniel, for coming on the podcast, and thank you guys so much for watching another podcast. And I can't speak. I'm so cold. I can't speak. I'm freezing. Sorry, guys. Thank you guys for watching another episode of Korea Unfiltered. And if you are an audio listener, thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to give the podcast 5 stars. And if you are a YouTube viewer, we have 82% of you guys who are not subscribed. Daniel, can you tell them to subscribe?
Guys, you must subscribe, like, hit that notification bell. You do not want to miss an episode of Korea Unfiltered.
You don't.
You're missing out, really.
You're missing out on these crazy stories that people are telling, and like you just want to be amazed. Like Daniel, he amazed me today. I was just like, what? So yeah, thank you so much for coming on the channel, and we are officially a YouTube partner. So thank you guys. Right? I know.
Congratulations.
I woke up today and I was like, ah. So thank you guys so much for being on this journey with Korea Unfiltered. I really, really appreciate the support, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye, guys. Bye.